Let me just start off by saying that I was at Disneyland recently, and I basically spent my children's like college tuition there, and Flip and Chewy would not take a picture with me. I'm not sure what it was. I went up to the cast member, was like, "Hey, can I, take a picture with this gigantic, majestic beast?" And then they said a smart ass smirk about me wearing a Darth Vader t-shirt, and then just turned around and like walked away from me. What? I'm not gonna chase down Chewy, tackle him, and force him to take a picture with me, but I don't know. It really hurt my soul that he wouldn't take a picture with me. Anyways, all jokes aside, if you're going to Disneyland, just be prepared to be let down by some of these characters. Let's get straight into today's video. I actually want to do a quick little review. My overall thoughts, I wouldn't say necessarily review because this figure has been reviewed to death at this point, but I still thought I would give you guys my personal take on the Scarlet Spider Marvel Legends action figure from Hasbro in that beautiful animated retro carded packaging. I will say I picked this up at a local toy show. I had seen it here and there, but I hadn't seen any reviews. I hadn't really, seen a video or heard anything about the figure, and so I kind of thought it was a little bit weird that the figure really didn't get a lot of attention, and so I just assumed that it probably wasn't a very good figure. So I picked it up, I took it home, and I posed it, I played around with it, and I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised here. Now, I'll start off with some of the things that I didn't like about the figure. Obviously, it's mostly just plastic. There's very little paint here, although I will say I don't know why you would need paint unless you're wanting like some shading. But aside from that, the figure just does exactly what it's supposed to do. I like the aesthetics, and don't even get me started on the articulation. I love it. Toe articulation, you get a thigh cut, an arm cut, double jointed knees, double jointed elbows, butterfly joints, and pinless technology everywhere. The neck articulation, I will say this is probably the only real issue that I had with the figure. I've said it before, Spider-Man figure should have the ball joint along with the hinge. This particular figure has just like a socket that, a ball joint that goes into the torso, and then a ball joint that goes outwards into the head sculpt, and that's it. So the articulation is a little bit limited for a Spider-Man figure. And then obviously the mid torso, the articulation or the hinge for the mid torso, unlike any other Spider-Man figure or a modern Spider-Man figure where it would have a double section, for this figure, you only get the one single section, and it's all the way down almost near like the pelvic area, and that has a lot to do with that soft plastic overlay or the hoodie where, like I said, any other figure or any other modern Spider-Man Marvel Legends figure would have that double ab articulation. Unfortunately, you're not going to get that with this figure. The butterfly joints also leave a little bit to be desired. I'm not sure exactly how they could, work around this. I guess they could have cut a little bit more inward and outward on the hoodie fabric, the soft plastic overlay, and then that would really help with the butterfly joints. But that's about it. I mean, those are really the only nitpicks that I have with the figure. The butterfly joints could be slightly better. The mid-torso articulation, but I understand why it is that they did that. And then the head articulation, those are really the only minor nitpicks, and some of these make sense just because of the budgetary constraints. This is only a $25 collectible. If I was paying more, I would expect a little bit more. So it is what it is, in my personal opinion. And I'm not gonna blow things out of proportion. This might be one of the best Spider-Man Marvel Legends action figures that we've received. I like the engineer work. I like the way that they worked around certain things. That soft plastic overlay for the hoodie obviously is always going to get in the way of articulation for this particular figure, but they did the best that they possibly could. As I said, toe articulation, double jointed everything, pinless, and then you obviously get all the hands that are necessary for a Spider-Man action figure. You get the web shooting hands, the fisted hands, as well as the web crawling hands, which is essentially what you need from a Marvel Legends Spider-Man nowadays. And as I said, you get all of the intricacies of a Spider-Man modern day Marvel Legends action figure. I suppose the only thing that would have put this figure over the top would be some webbing accessories. I floated around the idea of getting like wired webbing accessories that you can actually display. So they do have have like a semi-soft plastic web piece that you can pour it onto the hand, that it looks, or it simulates a Spider-Man action figure shooting the web, but it's soft plastic, so it kind of just, you know, jiggles around and it doesn't stay in place. So you have to go out of your way to either buy an imported Spider-Man action figure and take those accessories, or buy some accessories on like eBay or AliExpress or whatever website you can find wired webbing accessories. So I would love to see that from Hasbro. Maybe that's like the next step when it comes to accessories. I know that they've been reutilizing some of those older web accessories where it's like just a web splat somewhere. I know the Maximum Spider-Man comes with some new webbing accessories. We could potentially see those later down the line once, you know, they're more widely available. But like I said, those are the only real nitpicks that I have with the figure. You can get into any dynamic pose that you want it to get into. And this is one of the best marquee Spider-Man characters of all time. If you guys haven't really read up on Ben Reilly, he is one of the best characters. You have Jackal, who essentially clones Peter Parker. Ben Reilly, you know, grows up, and what's really interesting is that Ben Reilly actually has all of the emotions and all of the intricacies of Peter Parker, meaning that he, you know, he loves everybody that Peter Parker loves. He feels everything that he feels. So it's kind of a convoluted story, but it's very emotional. It's very deep. And, you know, eventually, for those people that, you know, don't really read comic books, he actually does become Chasm. And I think we've already received at least one version of Chasm in action figure form. So there's some history there. There's some really interesting lore. And as I said, he's one of the best Spider-Man action figures that I've gotten to date. And I will say, I think this might be only like the second or third Spider-Man figure that I've received with toe articulation, and I'm loving it. I think the only real, you know, articulated toys that I've been receiving up to this point have come from McFarlane. He's all about, you know, toe articulation. He's all about toes, okay? But seriously, it's really cool to start seeing this from Hasbro. I've been kind of preaching this for quite some time. I've been way more selective with my Spider-Man action figures. I've been way more careful. I don't want to purchase everything. There was a time when I was picking up anything Spider-Man, anything Captain America, Iron Man, but I'm just being more selective just because of the fatigue factor. You know, I don't want to have too many of one particular character, and then eventually I just, you know, start losing my mind and nitpicking at smaller little things. Overall, in my personal opinion, this is one of the best Spider-Man Marvel Legends that I've received thus far. And I will say, with Marvel Legends, there's only like a few things that could either make or break a figure. Like, this could have been a perfect figure if it just were for the maybe some webbing accessories and then the head articulation. Literally, that's it. And maybe the butterfly joints. But that aside, I think this is like the most solid 9 that I've ever seen. Those smaller little nitpicks, I think the only real issue that I would have with the figure was the head articulation, the fact that it doesn't have a hinge as well as a ball joint. But aside from that, everything else I think is like more so just a schematic issue, or the way that the figure was engineered and put together, rather than it being, you know, just Hasbro being lazy or not wanting to invest too much in a figure. But like, this is just my personal take, my personal perspective. I know this figure is like ancient at this point. Everybody that either has this figure already, you know, has done the reviews, or, you know, has already committed to the figure, or people that just decided to not pick it up, they're just not going to pick it up. But I just wanted to share my personal thoughts, my personal opinion on this figure. Do you guys plan on picking this figure up? Did you already pick it up? Where do you rank it in terms of, you know, more modern Hasbro Marvel Legends action figures? You know, specifically Spider-Man. Does this one rank up there? Personally, I think this is a great figure, great design. Obviously, if you're a big Scarlet Spider fan, you're going to pick this figure up, but also just the way that it articulates and the way that it was designed and put together, I definitely feel like it deserves a ton of love. And then it is also worth mentioning, the figure is still close to retail. I think you can purchase it. I purchased it for about $30 at a toy show, but if you're, you know, patient enough, maybe you go through eBay or other websites, you should be able to find this for slightly under retail or at retail, or a little bit over. It's, you know, between that $25 to $31, $32 price point, which isn't too bad. I have a very strong possibility that, you know, as time goes by, this is going to be one of those figures that actually is very difficult to find, and I do feel like it has potential on, you know, the secondary market. Not that that matters, but it's just something to keep in mind. Don't put it off. If you're interested in this figure, if, you know, you have a little bit of curiosity, this is definitely a figure that is worth picking up. But as I said, my personal opinion, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, make sure to enjoy the hobby, pose your action figures, photograph them, play around with them. Just enjoy them. That's the most important part of all this. Stay safe out there, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you.